Hello there, I'm going to show you how to do free motion stitching on a regular sewing machine. This is what I'm currently free motion stitching right now, and I'm doing a nice big Meander around the borders, and I'm going to do a stipple stitch with a loop on the inside, and then I'm also going to do a fancy like half circle kind of thing inside of the triangles. So let me give you a few pointers on free motion stitching. I have lots of sewing and quilting videos on my YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe. Please like and leave a comment down below so people like you can find me. I use a Baby Lock Soprano. I am not paid nor sponsored to create this video. When you are doing free motion stitching, your stitch settings don't matter. And the reason why the stitch settings don't matter on free motion stitching is because you are moving the fabric up and down and you are controlling the speed of that needle, and you are the feed dogs. So none of this sort of stuff matters, so don't fret over it. I use this style of free motion stitching foot on my sewing machine. As you can see, it has a spring and it also doesn't go fully to the bottom of the machine. There is a space under there. I don't even know if I can get a ruler. No, I can't. It's a bit too thick. But you can see that there is a gap under there and it doesn't fall totally flat onto my fabric. So if it is pushing down onto your fabric, make sure that you change that presser foot setting so it's not hugging the bottom of that fabric, because what's going to happen is that you're not going to be able to move that fabric about. When you take that back section off your sewing machine, it will reveal this switch, and this switch moves your feed dogs up and down. So always make sure that your feed dogs are dropped down whenever you're doing your free motion stitching. So this free motion stitching foot that I'm using actually has a spring and it hops. And can you see that it's not touching the actual bottom of the fabric? So there's a little bit of give. I want to say there's at least 1/4 of an inch space down there. So if you're struggling with free motion stitching, make sure that your foot isn't like flat down on the fabric, and if it is, you're going to need to raise that presser foot up a little bit, and that should be on the settings of your sewing machine. With my Baby Lock Soprano, we have a free motion stitch setting that we turn on, and it's like a fabric sensor, so it automatically knows like how thick my fabric is. I'm going to continue on with this meander here, and with a meander you want to think of it a bit like a river. So when you're going around, think of how a river stream is, and just go in and out and weave in and out. Leave your hands flat on the fabric and start. And just remember to weave in and out. Now I like to have my speed on my sewing machine set quite fast. You're going to have a play around with your speed settings to know how comfortable you are. I find it harder to go slow. So that's basically what a meander is. Now, the next step is really simple as well. So you're going to do a meander and then you're going to do a loop on it. So I need to watch that my hand doesn't get in the way now. So we get started, meander, and then do a little circle and then come out. This is really good if you want to change directions. So you do a meander, so you'll go meander, and then you'll do a loop and come out, a meander and a loop and come out, and meander and a loop and come out. So I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to try and find a better setup for my camera here. So meander and a loop, meander and a loop, meander, and a loop. Just don't panic when you're doing it. I find that a lot of people panic when they are doing free motion stitching. Meander, and a loop, and another loop, and a loop. And then just go around and fill in all of that space. Now when it comes to these triangles here, we are going to do like a half circle here. And you're going to come in, and then when this point starts to come into view, you're then going to stop doing a semicircle and come back round here. So let me show you what I mean. So we are going to, and then we're going to come back in and meet in that corner. So here we go, we're going to start this corner. And then we're going to come round and back in at the other corner. Turn my fabric around. And I'm going to do the last one here. So this is the effects we are getting. We are starting at this corner, we're coming round and then coming back down, then coming round and coming back down, going round and coming back down. It's very simple, just don't panic as you're doing it. If you are new to free motion stitching, then the meander or the stipple stitch is going to be your best friend. The meander and the stipple stitch are the easiest of the free motion stitching stitches that you can start off with. You're probably going to hate me for saying this, but it really is true. You are going to have to practice, 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 because that really does make perfect. I recommend if you are a beginner, always choose like a lighter thread, because that is going to hide more into the fabric than a thicker thread. Don't try to have a different colour bobbin in the back than what you are in the front, because if you are a beginner, then that back bobbin is probably going to show up through into the front, and you may actually have eyelashes. Eyelashes always show up on a corner of free motion stitching, and the reason why you get eyelashes is because you're going far too quickly around a corner. If you take it a little bit more slowly, you will notice that you don't get those eyelashes showing up around the curves. Don't be so hard on yourself by taking too much of a complicated design. If you're a beginner, stick to a meander or a stipple free motion stitch, because if you try and do anything far too advanced, you're going to set yourself up for failure, and it's going to be very frustrating, and you're going to think that you're never going to achieve free motion stitching, and you will. You just need to take it back down to a beginner level. Once you have mastered one free motion stitching, don't stop. Try to add in some different techniques. Don't get too comfortable with doing one design, because that's a design that you will constantly do over and over again. If you notice, I did a little hook here. So I just did a circle and I did my meander, and I added these circles in as I was going. So always add new exciting designs into your free motion stitching, and make sure that you practice, practice, practice. I have hundreds and hundreds of sewing and quilting videos on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.